walked through the busy halls of Nexus 7 with his bag over his shoulder. The massive space station floated at the edge of known space, where hundreds of different alien species came to trade and do business. He had been here before, many years ago, but things looked different now. Brighter, more peaceful. He joined the line at the security checkpoint. In front of him stood a tall blue-skin. Behind him was a small furry creature that barely reached his waist. This was normal now. Humans mixed with aliens every day. No one looked twice at him. The security officer was unnamed. He had 4 arms and 6 eyes that could see in different directions at once, waved forward to the scanner. Identification and purpose of visit, said in the common galactic language. His voice came out flat and mechanical through the translator device. Cargo pilot, here for a shipping job, replied. He placed his ID card on the scanner. 3-day stay maximum. Nodded 2 of his heads. Please place your right forearm on the bioscanner. This was standard. Every visitor to Nexus 7 got scanned. The system checked for weapons, diseases, and criminal records. Had done this 100 times at 100 different stations. He rolled up his sleeve and placed his forearm on the flat blue surface. The geometric pattern on his skin caught the light. Black lines formed triangles and circles in a pattern that looked like abstract art. Most people thought it was just a tattoo, something decorative, something meaningless. The scanner hummed, then it beeped, then it started making a sound he'd heard before, a sound he had hoped never to hear again. The screen in front of went black. What the? Started to say, but he never finished. Every screen in the security area went dark. Emergency lights kicked on, bathing everything in red. Alarms started screaming. The scanner under his arm sparked once, twice, then died completely. Closed his eyes and let out a long breath. Not again. Security officers rushed toward them from every direction, kept his hands visible and didn't move. He knew what was coming. A massive push through the crowd. He stood nearly 8 feet tall, with gray rock-like skin and small red eyes. His uniform marked him as commander, head of station security. What happened? Demanded. 6 eyes were all focused on his dead console. I don't know, sir. I started a standard bioscan and everything crashed. Everything? Asked. Everything, another officer called out. Main security grid is rebooting. All checkpoints are down. Turned his red eyes to, You, what did you do? Nothing, said calmly. I just put my arm on the scanner like he asked. Check the logs, ordered. An officer worked on a backup terminal. Her face turned confused. Sir, the system is trying to reboot, but it keeps crashing. There's some kind of... Wait, she leaned closer to the screen. There's a message. What message? Moved to look over her shoulder. The officer read slowly. Clearance level, Omega Terra. Authorization required, Galactic Council Tier 1. She looked up. Sir, I've never seen a clearance level like this. Omega Terra, repeated. He looked at with new interest. That's a human designation. I wouldn't know, said. Check his file, override the security. The officer tried. Her fingers moved fast across the controls. She tried again, and again. Sir, I can't, my clearance isn't high enough. The system won't even show me what's in the file. It just says I need council authorization. Small eyes narrowed. You're telling me this human has a security clearance higher than mine, higher than station command. That's what the system says, sir. A crowd had formed. Aliens from a dozen different species watched the scene. Some were recording on their devices, could hear them whispering. The quiet human had crashed the entire security system just by getting scanned. Made a decision. Detain him, high security holding until we figure out what's going on. 4 security officers moved forward, didn't resist. He had been through this before. He let them put restraints on his wrists. They weren't rough about it, but they weren't gentle either. As they led him away, caught sight of another human in the crowd. The man was older, maybe in his 60s, wearing a merchant's clothes. Their eyes met for just a second. The older man's face went pale. He turned and walked away quickly, disappearing into the crowd. Knew that look, the look of recognition, the look of someone who knew what that tattoo meant. The holding cell was clean and simple. A bed, a toilet, a sink. Force field door that hummed with energy. Sat on the bed and waited. He had done a lot of waiting in his life. Outside, he could hear voices arguing. We need to contact the Galactic Council, one voice said. For one human, that will take days, another responded. Look at the clearance level, we don't have a choice. Leaned his head back against the wall. He had tried to avoid this. For 25 years, he had been careful. He went to small stations, quiet places where the security systems were old and simple, places that didn't ask too many questions about a cargo pilot who kept to himself. But he needed work, and Nexus 7 had good paying jobs. He had thought maybe enough time had passed. Maybe the systems had been updated. Maybe his records had been buried deep enough. He had been wrong. Through the force field, he saw Commander approaching. The big stood outside the cell, studying like he was a puzzle to solve. I've been station commander for 12 years, said. I've seen murderers, smugglers, war criminals. I've never seen someone crash my entire security grid just by existing. He paused. Who are you really? Looked at him with tired eyes. Just a cargo pilot looking for work. Cargo pilots don't have Omega-level clearances. Maybe it's a mistake in the system. The Galactic Council doesn't make mistakes about clearance levels, said. Especially not Terra-designated ones. That means Earth military. That means something happened during the Frontier War. Said nothing. I fought in that war, continued. I was young then. My people allied with the Galactic Council against the Dominion. We thought the humans would be useless, new to space, weak. He laughed, but it wasn't a happy sound. We were very wrong. Still remained silent. The council representatives are coming, said. They'll want answers. They'll dig through every file, every record. Whatever you're hiding, they'll find it. Finally spoke. I'm not hiding anything. The files are sealed for a reason. If the council wants them opened, that's their choice. But I won't open them myself. Studied him for a long moment. Then he turned and walked away, his heavy footsteps echoing down the corridor. Lay down on the bed and closed his eyes. Tomorrow would bring questions. The next day would bring more. Eventually, someone with enough clearance would arrive and the files would open. And then everyone would know what the tattoo really meant. Each line wasn't just art. Each line was a mission. Each line was a story he had spent 25 years trying to forget. He had 47 lines on his forearm. Outside the cell, the station's normal sounds continued. Ships docking, cargo being moved, aliens doing business. Normal life going on while waited for his past to catch up with him. Again, stared at her computer screen and rubbed her tired eyes. She had been called in 3 hours ago during her sleep shift. The message had been urgent. Security breach, unknown origin, all hands needed. She was good with computers, better than good. She had worked her way up from a basic tech position to senior data analyst in just 5 years. At 28 years old, she was the youngest person in her department. She was also one of only 12 humans working on Nexus 7. Her supervisor, a named, hovered over her shoulder. Looked like floating jellyfish with too many tentacles. His color shifted to worried purple. Can you fix it? Asked. I'm trying, said, but I've never seen a crash like this. It's not a virus or a hack. The system did this to itself. Systems don't just crash themselves. This one did, pulled up the error logs. Look, someone got scanned at security checkpoint 7. The system tried to read their biosignature and immediately triggered a cascade shutdown, like it touched something it wasn't supposed to touch. What could do that? Dug deeper into the code. There's a file here, but I can't open it. My access level isn't high enough. You have level 6 clearance. That's higher than most people on this station. I know, tried different approaches. Every time she hit a wall, the file is marked Omega Terra. Color shifted to confused green. Terra, that's Earth designation. Are you sure? Positive, and it requires Galactic Council Tier 1 authorization just to view. Sat back in her chair. Who was getting scanned? Checked another terminal. A human, name, registered cargo pilot, age 42, no criminal record in our databases. Let me see his file. Transferred it to screen. She read through it quickly. Born on Earth, became a cargo pilot 25 years ago, clean record, worked for various shipping companies, moved around a lot, nothing special. Except for one thing. He has a tattoo registered in his biosignature, said. She pulled up the image. Black geometric patterns, lines and circles arranged in a specific way. Something about it looked familiar. It's just a tattoo, said. But wasn't so sure. She had studied Earth military history as part of her training. Humans were new to galactic society, and she wanted to represent her species well. She had read everything she could find. She opened her personal files and searched through old military documents. There, a reference to marking systems used during the Frontier War. The patterns matched. This isn't decorative, said quietly. It's a code, an encryption system used by Earth military special operations. What does it mean? I don't know. The decryption keys were never made public. Counted the lines on his forearm, 47 distinct marks. But in the documents I read, each mark represented something. Maybe missions, maybe accomplishments. 47 missions would be unusual for a cargo pilot, observed. Very unusual, made a decision. I need to access the classified Earth military archives. Do you have clearance for that? I have friends who do. She sent a coded message to another human who worked in the diplomatic sector. He had higher security access because he dealt with relations. If anyone could help, it was him. While she waited, dug into public records about the Frontier War. Most species didn't talk about it much. It had ended 30 years ago when the Dominion collapsed. The official story was that the Galactic Council forces had won through superior numbers and strategy. But there were other stories. Whispered stories about human soldiers who fought differently than any other species. Stories about operations that shouldn't have been possible. Stories about people who went into impossible situations and came back alive while their enemies didn't. Her computer beeped, had responded. "Don't ask about this," his message said, "for your own safety." That made more curious. She called him directly. Appeared on her screen. He was in his mid-30s, always professional, always careful. Right now he looked worried. "Please tell me you're not investigating what I think you're investigating. There's a human in holding. His file crashed our entire security system. I need to know why." "Then stop looking. Let the council handle it." "You know something," said. "What is it?" Glanced around his office, making sure he was alone. The Frontier War wasn't won by the council. Not really. Earth sent special units, small teams. They did things that other species couldn't or wouldn't do. "What kind of things?" "Rescue operations behind enemy lines, intelligence gathering, surgical strikes on command structures." He paused. "The council classified most of it because it made the other species uncomfortable. Humans were too good at killing when we needed to be." "And this?" "If his file has Omega clearance, he wasn't just a soldier. He was one of the ones they never talked about. The ones who went where even special forces couldn't go." Felt a chill. "How many humans like him are there?" "I don't know, hundreds maybe. They all retired after the war. The council gave them new identities, clean records, and asked them to disappear into normal life." Leaned closer to the camera. "These people earned the right to be left alone. Don't dig into this." But had already made up her mind. "I need to understand. If I'm going to help my species, I need to know our history. Our history includes things we're not proud of. I still need to know." Sighed. "Fine, but don't say I didn't warn you." He transferred a file to her. "This is what I can access about the Reaper protocol. It's heavily redacted, but it's a start." After he disconnected, opened the file. Most of it was blacked out, but she could read enough to understand. The Reaper protocol had been Earth's response to the practice of taking civilian hostages. Small teams of highly trained operators would infiltrate territory, extract the hostages, and eliminate any threats in their path. The success rate was 98%. The casualty rate for the operators was 70%. Most teams didn't survive more than 3 missions. Had 47 marks on his arm. Sat back in her chair, her mind racing. She needed to talk to him. She needed to understand how someone survived that many missions, how someone did that and then became a cargo pilot, how someone carried that history and just lived normally. She went to Commander's office. "I need to interview the prisoner," she said. Looked up from his desk. "Why?" "Because I might be the only person on this station who can understand his file. I'm human. I've studied Earth military history, and I have the clearance to access at least some of the relevant archives." Considered this. "You have 10 minutes. He hasn't been cooperative." The walk to the holding cells felt longer than it was. Heart pounded in her chest. She was about to meet someone from the stories, someone who had done impossible things. When she reached the cell, was sitting on the bed, staring at nothing. He looked ordinary, tired, maybe a little sad, not like a soldier from the whispered stories. "Hello," said. Looked up, his eyes were dark and calm. "Another investigator. Data analyst, but I'm human like you." "I can see that. I know what your tattoo means, or at least I know what it represents." His expression didn't change. "Do you?" "Reaper protocol, each line is a mission." Paused. 47 missions, that's not possible. No one survived that many." "Apparently someone did." "Hell?" Stood up and walked to the force field. Up close, could see the wear on his face. The way he moved carefully, like someone who had been hurt many times and learned from it. "Why do you want to know?" he asked. "Because I'm human, and I don't understand my own people's history. Because the galaxy sees us as traitors and diplomats now, but 30 years ago they saw us as something else. I want to know what happened." Studied her for a long moment. "What happened is that young people like you get to be traitors and diplomats because people like me did terrible things so you wouldn't have to. That's all you need to know. That's not fair. We have a right to understand." "Fair?" Voice stayed calm, but something cold entered his eyes. "You want to know about fair? They thought it was fair to use civilian hostages as shields. They thought it was fair to execute prisoners on live broadcasts. They thought it was fair to target colony ships full of families. He paused. We taught them different. Felt the weight of his words. I'm sorry, I didn't mean. I know what you meant, you're curious. You want to understand, but some things are sealed for good reason. Returned to his bed. The council representatives will arrive soon. They'll open the files. You'll get your answers, but you won't like them. Why not? Because you'll learn that humans can be just as brutal as any species in the galaxy. We're just better at it when we need to be. He lay down and closed his eyes. Now please go. I'd like to be alone. Walked back to her office slowly. She felt like she had touched something she didn't fully understand, something dark and necessary and terrible. She passed another human in the corridor. It was Jin, an older merchant who had been on the station for years. He nodded to her politely. I heard you met our new arrival, Jin said. You know him? No, but I know his type, seen a few over the years. They all have that same look, that same quiet way of being. Jin smiled sadly. Best thing you can do for people like that is leave them alone. They've earned their peace. As Jin walked away, realized something. There were probably dozens of these quiet humans scattered across the galaxy, all carrying secrets, all trying to forget, all hoping no one would ever check their tattoos too closely. She went back to her computer and started preparing a report for the council representatives. But in her heart, she understood now why some files stayed sealed. Some histories were too heavy to share. The council representative arrived on a private ship 2 days later. Her name was Sora and she was human. That surprised everyone. Sora walked through Nexus 7 like she owned it. She wore an expensive suit and carried herself with absolute confidence. At 45 years old, she had been Earth's diplomatic representative to the Galactic Council for 10 years. She had clearance levels that made station commanders nervous. Commander met her at the docking bay. Representative Sora, thank you for coming so quickly. I came because a human caused a station-wide security failure, Sora said coldly. This makes Earth look bad. I'm here to fix it. The individual is in holding. We haven't been able to access his files. I know, that's why I'm here. Sora started walking towards security. Show me to him. Had been called to attend the meeting. She stood outside the holding cell with Sora and 3 security officers. Through the force field, sat on his bed, reading a book on a data pad. When he saw Sora, he stood up slowly. Representative, he said. Captain, Sora replied. The word hung in the air. Captain, not cargo pilot, Captain. You know each other? Asked. We've met, Sora said, once, a long time ago. She turned to the security team. Everyone leave except Commander and Analyst. What I'm about to discuss is classified. The other officers left quickly. Sora waited until they were gone, then activated a privacy field around the cell area. Now no one outside could hear or record what was said. Drop the force field, Sora ordered. Hesitated, he could be dangerous. Sora laughed. It wasn't a happy sound. Commander, if he wanted to escape, he would have done it already. The force field is for your comfort, not his security. The force field dropped, remained where he was, making no move to leave. How many years has it been? Sora asked him. 25 answered, give or take. You've been careful. I didn't even know you were still working the outer rim routes. I go where the work is quiet. Nexus 7 isn't quiet. I needed the money, made a mistake, gestured at the cell, obviously. Sora pulled out a specialized data pad. She pressed her thumb to it and saw multiple security checks run. Then Sora looked at. Commander, what I'm about to show you is classified above your clearance level, but the situation requires it. You will sign a non-disclosure agreement and you will never speak of this to anyone. Understood? Understood, said. Sora opened the file. The screen filled with text and images, tried to read it all at once. Mission reports, combat assessments, success rates, kill counts, recommendations, medals that had never been awarded publicly. His full name and rank are classified, Sora began. What I can tell you is that he served in the Reaper Protocol during the Frontier War. His unit designation was Ghost 7. She pulled up an image, 6 humans in dark combat gear standing in front of a ship. They all looked young, maybe in their 20s. Their faces were hard, but their eyes showed something else, something tired. This photo was taken after their 15th mission, Sora said. Rescue operation on Station Beta 9. 63 hostages, 24 guards. The team went in, extracted all hostages, and eliminated the guards in under 4 minutes. She swiped to the next image. Only 4 people standing this time. After Mission 22, infiltration of command vessel, retrieved battle plans that allowed the Council to counter a major offensive. 2 team members died during extraction. Next image, only 2 people. After Mission 31, deep penetration raid on a prison camp, freed over 10,000 civilians from multiple species. The camp had 300 guards, only one team member left with after this one. The final image showed alone, standing in what looked like a medical bay. He was covered in bandages. His eyes looked dead. Mission 38, Sora said quietly. Classified. His last team member died. He completed that mission alone and 12 more after it. Felt sick, 50 missions total. 47 completed. 3 were aborted when intelligence turned out to be wrong. Sora looked at. His survival rate was impossible. His success rate was perfect. Every single mission objective was achieved. How asked? Because he was very good at what he did, Sora said. Too good. After the war ended, the Council decided that having soldiers this effective was uncomfortable for galactic peace. The files were sealed. The soldiers were given clean records and asked to retire quietly. Why seal the files? Asked. They were heroes. Were they? Sora pulled up another document. Mission 18. Team was tasked with eliminating a command staff. 17 targets. They succeeded, but intelligence later revealed that 6 of the targets were actually moderate voices arguing for peace negotiations. She showed another file. Mission 29. Destroyed a weapons facility. All objectives met. 300 workers died. Most were civilian technicians, not soldiers. We didn't know, said quietly. It was the first time he had spoken since Sora started the briefing. The intelligence was bad. I know, Sora said, but it doesn't change what happened. That's why the files are sealed. Not because you failed, but because war is ugly even when you win, especially when you win. She closed the data pad. The Council decided that showing other species how effective human operators could be would lead to an arms race. Everyone would want soldiers like this. Everyone would try to create their own versions. It was better to let it fade into history. Looked at with new understanding. You've been living with this for 25 years. Every day, said. Why didn't you get help, therapy, support? I did for the first 5 years, but you can't therapy away the things I did. You can only learn to live with them. Sat back down on the bed. I became a cargo pilot because it's simple. Pick up cargo, deliver cargo, collect payment. No one dies. No decisions about who lives or who doesn't, just simple work. Found her voice. You saved thousands of people. I killed hundreds, countered. The math doesn't make me feel better. Sora turned to. Now you understand why this file can't be public. Not because did anything wrong by the laws of war, but because it shows what humans are capable of when we're pushed. That's not the image Earth wants to project now. What happens to him? Asked. That depends on him, Sora looked at. I can offer you 3 options. 1. Return to active duty with full rank and honors. We could use someone with your experience training the next generation. Shook his head immediately. No. 2. Complete identity reset. New name, new records, new life. You disappear and the Council makes sure no one ever connects your old file to your new identity. And the 3rd option. The status. Keep your current identity. Keep working as a cargo pilot, but we upgrade the security protocols so this doesn't happen again. Your file stays sealed, but your life continues as it is. Thought for a moment. Option 3. I don't want to hide from what I did, but I don't want to go back to it either. I just want to live quietly. Done. Sora made notes on her pad. I'll implement new protocols within the hour. Your file will remain sealed but flagged to prevent system crashes. She turned to him. You both signed NDAs. Nothing we discussed leaves this room. If anyone asks, the security crash was a software glitch. Understood. They both nodded. Sora headed for the door, then stopped. There's someone on this station who wants to see you. He heard you were here. Who? Jin. He served in the war too. Different unit, but he remembers Ghost 7. He runs a trading shop in the market district. After Sora left, personally escorted out of holding. The big seemed different now, respectful, maybe even a little afraid. For what it's worth, said, I'm glad soldiers like you were on our side during the war. There weren't sides, said, just people trying to survive and people trying to stop them. We did what we had to do. Walked with him toward the market district. She had so many questions, but she didn't know how to ask them. You want to know why? Said, reading her mind. Yes. They took hostages because they thought other species valued individual lives too much. They thought we'd surrender rather than let civilians die. He smiled sadly. They were right about most species, but humans were stubborn. We don't leave people behind, even when it would be smarter, even when it costs us everything. Is that why you kept going, even after your team died? No, I kept going because stopping would mean their deaths were for nothing. They died believing the missions mattered. I had to prove they were right. They reached Jin's shop. The old merchant was arranging goods in the window. When he saw, he stopped. The 2 men looked at each other for a long moment. Then Jin smiled. "You look old." "You look older," replied. "I earned every gray hair." Jin came outside and pulled into a hug. "I heard about the security incident, figured it might be one of ours." "One of ours?" Ghost 7 wasn't the only unit. Plenty of us scattered across the galaxy trying to live normal lives. We look out for each other when we can. Jin glanced at. "I see you met our youngest generation." "She has questions," said. "Of course she does, they all do." Jin turned to, "But some questions don't have good answers, young one. Some things you just have to accept and move on." Realized Jin was right. She could ask 100 questions, read 1,000 files, and she still wouldn't truly understand what these men had experienced. Some things could only be known by living through them. "Thank you for your service," she said simply. Jin laughed. "That's what they all say, like 2 words can cover 30 years of nightmares." But his expression softened. "You're welcome, though. Your generation is better than ours. Kinder. That's worth something." As the sun set on Nexus 7, 3 humans stood together in the market district. One who had fought the war, one who remembered it, and one who was building the peace that came after. The galaxy moved on around them, full of species who didn't know the whole story. Maybe that was for the best. The story spread despite the NDAs. Not the details, but whispers. A human with a classified military record. Security systems that crashed at his touch. Representatives coming from Earth itself to handle the situation. Aliens looked at differently now when he walked through the station. Some with curiosity, others with fear, a few with respect. Hated it all. He sat in Jin's shop, drinking tea and watching the crowd pass by. Jin had offered him a temporary place to stay while his cargo ship was being serviced. "You're famous now," Jin said, pouring more tea. "Should have taken the identity reset." "I don't want to hide." "Pride." "Responsibility," held the warm cup in his hands. "If I hide from what I did, then it means I'm ashamed of it. I'm not. I did what was necessary, but I also won't pretend it didn't happen." Jin nodded. "That's the difference between soldiers and warriors. Soldiers follow orders and forget. Warriors carry the weight forever." The shop door opened. A young human in a station security uniform entered. He looked nervous. "Sir, are you?" the young man asked. "Just no sir needed." "I mean you, I work security here, I wanted to. I heard that you." He stumbled over his words. "Sit down before you hurt yourself," Jin said, pushing a chair toward him. Minyu sat. He couldn't have been more than 22 years old, fresh-faced and eager. "I wanted to thank you. My grandfather was one of the civilians rescued from the camps. He never told me who saved him, but after the security thing, he saw your photo and he knew. He asked me to find you." Felt something twist in his chest. "What's your grandfather's name?" "He works in the diplomatic sector now." "I don't remember individual faces from the camps," admitted. "There were too many. We just got everyone out we could." "He said you carried him. He was injured and couldn't walk. You carried him and 2 others at the same time while your team held off the guards." "Did remember that. Mission 31, the worst one before he lost his last teammate. Your grandfather was one of the lucky ones. He said all the rescued people were lucky because of you. 10,000 people rescued. 2 of my team died doing it. The math isn't in my favor." Minyu looked confused. "But you saved." "I know what I saved," said not unkindly, "but I also know what it cost. Both things can be true." Jin put a hand on Minyu's shoulder. "The young one came to say thank you. Let him say it." Minyu straightened up. "My grandfather wanted me to tell you that because of you, he lived to have a family. He had 3 children. 7. He said you gave him 50 years of life he wouldn't have had. He wanted you to know it mattered." Felt his eyes burn. He blinked hard. "Tell your grandfather I'm glad he made good use of the time." After Minyu left, and Jin sat in silence for a while. "That happen often?" Jin asked. "More than I'd like, less than it should," finished his tea. "How do you deal with it?" "I remind myself that we did what we had to do. The war is over. We won. Our people are safe." Jin smiled sadly. "And on bad days I drink." "Does that help?" "Not really, but it passes the time." The peaceful moment ended when alarms started blaring. Through the shop window saw security forces running, people screaming, weapons fire in the distance. Jin's expression went hard. "That's not a drill." They moved to the door. In the market district, chaos erupted. A group were attacking civilians. They wore old military gear, patched and worn, remnants, extremists who refused to accept the war had ended. One of them was dragging toward an exit. She fought back, but was stronger. Security forces were trying to contain the situation, but they were too far away. Didn't think, he just moved. He crossed the distance in seconds. His hand locked on this wrist, the one holding. He applied pressure to a specific nerve cluster. This grip released instantly. Stumbled away. The spun toward raising a weapon. What happened next, most people couldn't follow. The security cameras would later show it in slow motion, and even then it looked impossible. His hand moved in a blur. He redirected the weapon, stepped inside this guard, and struck 3 precise points on the alien's body. The collapsed, alive but unconscious. 2 more came at him. Moved like water, like wind, like something that couldn't be touched. Every movement was minimal and perfect. Every strike landed exactly where it needed to. 5 seconds, 3 attackers down, none dead. The remaining saw what happened. Their leader, a veteran, stared at with wide eyes. The Silent Reaper, the leader whispered in his own language. Understood it. He had learned during the war, had to for the infiltration missions. The war is over, said in, go home. You killed hundreds of our people. And I'll do it again if you threaten civilians. His voice was calm but absolute, but I'd rather not, so leave now. The standoff lasted 5 heartbeats. Then station security arrived in force, weapons ready. They surrendered without a fight. Commander personally arrested them. He looked at with new understanding. I saw the footage. You could have killed all of them. Yes, but you didn't. The war is over, repeated. Killing them wouldn't change anything. Nodded slowly. Most soldiers couldn't have shown that restraint. I'm not most soldiers. Approached shaking but unharmed. You saved me. You were in danger. It's what anyone would do. No, it's what you do. She looked at him differently now, not with fear or awe but understanding. You could have killed them in a second. I saw how fast you moved, but you chose not to. Of course I chose not to. They were just angry veterans fighting a war that's already lost. Killing them would have made me the monster they think I am. Mean you ran up out of breath. Sir, I've never seen anyone move like that. You shouldn't have to, said. That's kind of the point. Sora appeared, looking furious. You just displayed your combat skills in front of hundreds of witnesses. I stopped an attack on civilians. You revealed what you're capable of. Every species on the station now knows that humans can. Can what? Can defend themselves. Can stop violence without killing. Met her eyes. Good. Maybe they'll think twice before attacking civilians. This is going to cause problems. Then I'll deal with them, like I always have. Sora opened her mouth to argue, then stopped. She saw something in his expression, something final. You're not going to hide anymore, are you? I tried hiding. It doesn't work. My file exists. My history exists. People like those know who I am. Pretending otherwise just delays the inevitable. The council won't like this. The council can file a complaint. Turned to walk away, then stopped. But tell them this. I stopped 5 armed attackers without killing any of them. In the old days, they'd all be dead. Maybe that's worth something. As the security forces cleaned up the incident, word spread through the station faster than light. Humans could fight. Not just fight, but fight with a precision and skill that seemed impossible. And the scariest part, they chose not to kill when they could. In the holding cells, the leader sat quietly. A guard asked him why he had called the Silent Reaper. During the war, Ghost 7 operated in our territory, he explained. They were called Silent Reapers because you never heard them coming. Your soldiers would be there, then they'd be gone, and ours would be dead or captured or just gone. He looked at his hands. But we heard stories of times when they showed mercy, when they could have killed everyone but chose not to. We thought they were lies to make them seem more noble. They weren't lies. No, I just saw it myself. He could have killed us all, should have killed us all by any military logic, but he didn't. They laughed bitterly. We surrendered because we realized that humans are more dangerous than we thought, not because they're good at killing, because they're good at not killing when they could. Back in Jin's shop, sat down heavily. The adrenaline was fatting, leaving exhaustion behind. You okay? Jin asked. I moved like that without thinking. 25 years of cargo runs and my body still remembers. Muscle memory, it never really goes away. I know, looked at his hands. They weren't shaking. They never shook even after everything. I'm tired, Jin, tired of carrying this, tired of being looked at like a weapon, tired of proving I'm more than what I was. So stop proving it, just be who you are now. And who is that? Jin smiled. A cargo pilot who occasionally stops terrorists could be worse. Despite everything, laughed. It felt good to laugh. Outside, the station slowly returned to normal, but something had changed. Humans were seen differently now, not as weak newcomers or simple traders, but as people who could be dangerous when needed and gentle when they chose. The galaxy was learning what Earth had known for thousands of years. The strongest people are those who can choose peace after knowing war. And whether he wanted to or not, had become a teacher of that lesson. The Galactic Council called an emergency session 3 days after the incident. Representatives from 47 species gathered in the Grand Chamber on the capital station. The question on everyone's mind was simple. What do we do about the humans? Sora stood at the speaking platform, representing Earth. Around her, alien delegates whispered and argued. Some wanted human military records unsealed. Others wanted stricter monitoring of human veterans. A few wanted humans restricted from certain sectors entirely. Order, the council chair called out. She was an ancient, nearly 300 years old. Her many eyes focused on Sora. Representative, explain what happened at Nexus 7. Sora activated a holographic display. A human veteran of the Frontier War was scanned by station security. His classified record triggered a system crash. This exposed the existence of Earth's special operations programs during the war. Programs? A delegate asked. How many? Several. Most are still classified. And how many humans were part of these programs? Sora hesitated. Approximately 800 combat operatives, plus support staff. The chamber erupted in noise. 800 soldiers who could do what had done. 800 humans trained to fight at that level. Where are they now? Demanded a delegate, one of the few who still had a seat on the council. Living peaceful lives. They've been integrated into civilian society across the galaxy. They work as pilots, merchants, teachers, farmers. Some are even council employees. And we were never told. The council leadership was informed, Sora said carefully, but it was decided that publicizing their existence would create unnecessary tension during peacetime. The delegate stood. My people have a right to know if war criminals are living among us. They're not war criminals, Sora said coldly. Every action they took was within the legal framework of war. They rescued hostages, gathered intelligence, and protected civilians. Just because they were effective doesn't make them criminals. They killed thousands of soldiers. During a war that your empire started. Sora's voice cut through the chamber. A war where your people took civilian hostages and executed prisoners. Earth's special forces responded to atrocities. If you want to discuss war crimes, we can start with your own records. The delegate sat down, fuming but silent. The council chair spoke again. The question remains, what do we do now? This information is spreading. Every species knows that humans have capabilities beyond what was previously understood. An old delegate stood. It was Uncle, a retired general. I fought in the Frontier War. I saw human operators in action. They terrified me then. But I also saw them choose mercy when they could have chosen slaughter. That matters. How can we trust that they won't use these skills again? Another delegate asked. Because they chose not to, Uncle replied. For 30 years, 800 trained killers have lived quietly across the galaxy. How many have committed crimes? How many have used their abilities for personal gain? Sora pulled up statistics. Of the 800 veterans, criminal activity rate is 0.3%. That's lower than the galactic average. Most have started families, businesses, careers. They contribute to society. But the one at Nexus 7 engaged in combat, someone pointed out. To save a civilian from armed terrorists, Sora countered. And he subdued 5 attackers without killing any of them. If anything, that proves humans can be trusted to use appropriate force. The debate raged for hours. Finally, the council chair called for proposals. Option 1. Seal all human military records permanently and require all veterans to register with council security. Sora shook her head. Earth will not agree to treating our veterans like criminals. They served honorably and earned the right to privacy. Option 2. Unseal all records and allow full public access. Also unacceptable. These people deserve to move on from their past. Then what do you propose? The chair asked. Sora took a breath. Option 3. The status with minor adjustments. Records remain sealed but with better security protocols to prevent accidental exposure. Veterans continue their civilian lives. No registration, no tracking, no special restrictions. But Earth agrees to be more transparent about our military history and educational contexts. That's basically doing nothing, a delegate complained. No, Sora said. It's respecting the peace that these soldiers fought to achieve. They don't want glory. They don't want recognition. They just want to live normal lives. Giving them that isn't weakness, it's wisdom. The vote was close, but option 3 passed. The galaxy would know that humans had fought brutally in the past, but would not be forced to dwell on it in the present. After the session, Sora returned to Nexus 7. She found in the market district, helping Jin stock shelves. It's done, she said. Your records stay sealed. No registration requirements. You're free to keep living as you have been. Did I have a choice? Asked. Actually, yes. Several delegates wanted to offer you and the others consultant positions. training roles, advisory positions with good pay and benefits. And I assume you told them no. I told them you'd already given enough, that you and the others earned the right to choose your own paths. Sora paused, but I have to ask, do you regret it, any of it? Thought for a long moment. I regret the things I couldn't prevent, the civilians who died despite our best efforts, the teammates I couldn't save, the peace talks that failed before we had to fight. He looked at his hands. But I don't regret serving. Someone had to do it. I'm just glad it's over. It's over for the galaxy. Is it over for you? Not yet, maybe never, but I'm learning to carry it better. Jin finished stacking a box and joined them. She offering you a job. Consultant position, training the next generation of soldiers. You should take it, Jin said. Both and Sora looked at him in surprise. Hear me out, Jin continued. Not to teach them how to kill, teach them how not to, teach them restraint. Teach them that the goal isn't to be the deadliest, it's to make sure the fight never happens in the first place. Considered this, I don't know if I'm qualified to teach peace. You're more qualified than anyone. You know what war costs. You know what it takes away. Who better to teach young soldiers to avoid it? Sora smiled. It's not a bad idea. 1 or 2 seminars a year. Share your experience. Help shape military doctrine to prioritize de-escalation. I'll think about it, said. Later that evening, found sitting by a viewport, watching the stars. She had been working up the courage to talk to him for days. Can I join you? She asked. Free station. She sat down. I wanted to apologize for pushing you to talk about things you wanted to forget. You were curious. Can't blame someone for wanting to understand their own history. But Jin was right. Some things you can't understand unless you live them. Looked out at the stars. My generation gets to explore and trade and build relationships because yours fought to make it possible. I should have respected that instead of treating it like an interesting story. Your generation is better than mine, said. You see aliens as potential friends, not potential threats. You build bridges instead of walls. That's worth everything we did. The council session made the news. Everyone knows about the frontier war now, about what humans did. And how do they look at us? Differently, some are afraid, some are impressed, most are just thoughtful, like they're seeing humans in a new way. That's not the worst outcome. Gathered her courage. What you did saving me from those, you could have killed them so easily. Easily, yes, but why would I? The war is over. They were just angry and lost. Killing them would have made them martyrs and me a monster. Is that what you think about, in combat situations, the consequences? Always, every action has consequences. Every death creates ripples. The best soldiers aren't the ones who kill without thinking. They're the ones who think about every alternative before they kill. He smiled sadly. Unfortunately, sometimes there are no alternatives. Do you have nightmares? Every night. Does it get better? Some days, turn to look at her. But you know what helps? Knowing that people like you get to live without those nightmares. That your biggest worry is understanding your history, not living through it. That's what makes it worthwhile. They sat in comfortable silence for a while. I'm starting a project, said. A historical archive about the frontier war. Interviews with veterans who are willing to talk. Records of what happened, but also why it happened and what we learned. Would you contribute? What would you want me to say? Whatever you're willing to share, your perspective, your experience, not the classified details, just the human element, what it was like, what it meant, what you hope the future holds. Thought about it? If I do this, I want to talk to young soldiers, the ones training now, tell them about the cost of war. I can arrange that. Then okay, I'll help with your project. A few weeks later, stood in front of a classroom at the Council Military Academy. 30 young officers from 15 different species stared at him with curiosity. He told them about the frontier war, not the exciting parts, not the victories or the glory. He told them about the cost, about the teammates he lost, about the missions that succeeded but left him hollow inside, about the civilians he couldn't save despite his best efforts. War makes you efficient at solving problems, he said, but it doesn't teach you to solve them peacefully. That's something you have to learn yourselves. Every time you choose diplomacy over combat, you're winning a harder battle than any I ever fought. A young officer raised his hand. But what if diplomacy fails? What if there's no choice but to fight? Then you fight, but you make sure you've exhausted every other option first. And when you do fight, you fight to end it, not to prolong it. You fight to create peace, not to destroy enemies. Paused. And when it's over, you put down your weapons and you build something better. That's the part they don't teach you in training. That winning the war isn't the end. It's just the beginning of the real work. After the lecture, several students came to talk to him. They had questions about tactics, about decision-making, about fear and courage. Answered them honestly. One human student, a young woman named, asked, "Do you regret becoming a soldier?" "No, but I regret that I had to be one. There's a difference. I want to serve. I want to protect people like you did, but I'm afraid I'll become like the stories say you were." Good, fear is healthy. It means you understand the weight of what you're choosing. Put a hand on her shoulder. Just remember, being good at fighting doesn't mean you have to fight. The strongest warriors are the ones who prevent wars, not the ones who win them. That night returned to Nexus 7, Jin had news. Wants to expand her, she's looking for a partner, someone to help manage it. From the coffee shop. The same, she's been asking around about you, thinks you'd be good at it. Laughed, I don't know anything about running a. You know about logistics, inventory, managing resources under pressure. It's not that different from military planning, just with less shooting. Why me? Because she likes you, and because she thinks you need something to build instead of something to carry. Jin smiled. I told her you'd think about it. Did think about it. For 3 days he thought about it. Then he went to. She was a kind woman in her 50s, running the small shop by herself. When walked in, she smiled. Jin said you might stop by. He said you have a proposal. Business proposal, I want to expand. Add more tables, maybe a small kitchen for food, but I can't do it alone. She poured him coffee. I need a partner, someone reliable, someone who knows how to solve problems. I'm just a cargo pilot. No, you're not. You're someone who gets things done. Jin told me about your service, about what you were. She pushed the coffee toward him. I don't care about that. I care about who you are now, and I think you're someone who wants to build something. Drank the coffee, it was good, really good. What would I do? Everything I can. Manage suppliers, handle logistics, deal with station bureaucracy, make sure the place runs smoothly. I don't have experience in food service. You'll learn. I did, leaned forward. Look, I'm not offering this as charity. I need help and you need purpose. This is just business, good business. Looked around the small. It was warm and welcoming. People came here to relax, to talk, to just exist peacefully. It was the opposite of everything he had known during the war. I'll do it, he said. Really? Really? On one condition, we donate 10% of profits to civilian war relief funds, multiple species, not just human. Extended her hand, deal. They shook on it. 6 months later, the had expanded. It had become a gathering place for humans and aliens alike, a place where species mixed and shared stories and built friendships. Worked the counter sometimes, served coffee, managed inventory. Simple work, peaceful work, work that built instead of destroyed. One day came in with Minu and his grandfather. The old man walked slowly, using a cane, but his eyes were bright. You probably don't remember me, said. Mission 31 replied. I remember you. You had a broken leg. I carried you. You carried 3 of us at the same time while running. Adrenaline does amazing things. Sat down heavily. I wanted to meet you properly, to say thank you when I wasn't delirious from pain and fear. You already thanked me, through your grandson. A grandson you made possible, 3 children, 7, all because you didn't leave me behind. Eyes were wet. 50 years of life, 50 years of love and family and joy, because of you. Felt the familiar burn in his eyes. I'm glad you used the time well. I did, and I want you to know it mattered. Every person you saved, it mattered. We lived, we loved, we built families and careers, we made the peace worth having. After they left, found standing by the viewport, looking out at the stars. You okay? She asked. Yeah, just thinking. About how maybe Jin was right. Maybe the real victory isn't what we destroyed. It's what others got to build because we did. Stood beside him. You're building now too. Isn't exactly saving the galaxy. No, but it's feeding it one cup at a time. Bringing people together, creating moments of peace and connection. She smiled. That's worth something. Looked at the tattoo on his arm. 47 lines, 47 missions, 47 stories he would carry forever. But now there was something else. A full of people, students learning from his mistakes, a partnership built on trust, a future instead of just a past. The galaxy had learned that humans could fight. Now it was learning that humans could also build, heal, and choose peace after knowing war. And the silent reaper who had walked through darkness for years had finally found his way to the light. Not by forgetting who he had been, but by becoming someone new. The war was over, the fighting was done, and finally after 30 years was home.